There's nothing like a great doses of folk metal, especially when it's delivered from Finland and it's delivered by some of the masters on the scene. So last year, Korpiklaani released Jylhä, their latest album. And with that, I had a talk with the bass player Jarkko, and you can hear that interview right now. First of all, congratulations on your new album. How is it going on in the Korpiklaani camp at the moment?
We have basically, as you know, everything has been cancelled for about a year now.
Yeah.
So we have been. Last year we scheduled many things. We have scheduled many things for this year. So far, the album release has been the only thing that hasn't been cancelled. So the album was released on Friday. We had a couple of album release shows booked for that weekend in Finland, but obviously it got cancelled or postponed till September or something.
Yeah.
But we have been having rehearsals, so we get together, try to learn the album and all that, and we did that also on Friday, which was the release date as well. So in the afternoon we had rehearsals, then we had the online chat for the album, and we got wasted while doing that. So very nice Friday.
All right.
A standard Friday, I'd say.
Yeah. So, I mean, speaking of your new album, would it be wrong for me to say that I think this new album might be a little bit faster and heavier, but also at the same time maybe a little more diverse than your previous latest albums? How do you see that?
I'm not sure about the faster. I haven't really compared the tempos that much, but it sure is heavier, especially when compared to the previous one, which was probably our most pop album.
Yeah.
So this one is definitely heavier than that, and probably the heaviest. But as you said, also it is very diverse. I think we have managed to expand the musical scope or whatever that is a bit more, yet still sort of have been able to keep it as Korpiklaani. So that it's, when you hear whichever song on the album, you immediately know that okay, it's those blokes. Even though some of the songs are a bit far from what people have been used to hear from us.
Please enlighten me in your songwriting process of this new album. How have you guys been able to, write an album like this during a pandemic? Did you write the songs before the pandemic, or how did this affect you?
Yeah, everything was done before the whole thing started. Like we were scheduled to record the album early last year, like March, April, springtime anyway. I can't remember exactly, but I remember going there on a motorcycle, so it can have been in February at least. But anyway, so we were scheduled to do this anyway. So basically, the only thing that the pandemic changed in that was that we had more time, because suddenly everything got cancelled. So we managed to do a proper pre-production for the album and all that.
Yeah, I mean, you're very productive. It's almost like only 2 years ago that the previous album came. How do you keep on writing this material in such a fast way?
Jonne is an amazing writer in that sense, that he's like extremely productive, and he writes all the time. It feels like when we start putting the album together, like putting the songs together, it feels like like he writes an album full of stuff in 4 weeks. but he doesn't, because he has been writing stuff for like constantly since the previous album, but he just like puts all the ideas and things, he starts to pull it together like in that. So it feels like how can he write this thing in 1 month, but he actually just puts together all the stuff from the past 2-3 years. But he writes a lot. He is amazingly productive.
Drinking and writing music, that's the recipe.
Yeah, but it's not that much drinking, because when you start, you can't really sort of, you don't really manage to finish anything when you are doing things drunk.
No.
If you're writing something, this is great. This is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and then you listen to it sober, and you are thinking like, is that even me who's playing? What the hell is this shit?
Talking about songwriting, how do you navigate between the folk and the metal elements in your songwriting? I mean, obviously, compared to many other folk metal bands, you guys are very much folk as well as metal. Is it important for you that the sound is like 50% metal and 50% folk, or how do you navigate your sound?
I think it varies varies in our song. I think some songs are more metal, some songs are more folk. I think it's just it sort of depends on like what is the key when writing the song, like what is the key element that sort of where does the song start from? Because sometimes the song starts from the guitar riff. Yeah. So then possibly quite often the end result is more on the metal side, the guitar driven side. And then sometimes when it starts with the whatever instrument, hurdy-gurdy or whatever instrument anyone may have in their hands when they start, it may start with the melodies, and so it's and therefore it perhaps becomes more folk. But we don't really have that set rules on how we write or how we put the songs together.
And how was it to work with your new drummer in this process?
It's been brilliant. He's a really talented drummer. And also he was, once he got to, because I don't know if you know this, but he also played like 2/3 of the previous album, the studio. So then we know the guy from from years back. But now he was very much involved in the actual like the songwriting process, in the sense that when Jonne was putting the songs together and figuring out like the arrangements, Samuli was actually sitting there in his basement in Jonne's home studio, and he was the one pointing out the faults and the good things, and he was the second opinion. Okay, yeah. It was very much welcome. Jonne was very happy to have someone there to actually either confirm his ideas or like shake his head and like, are you sure?
I think that's a great way of also getting a new guy into the group.
So Samuli was very happy to be involved like that. He was very, very enthusiastic about that, and he's very happy that he was heard. Yeah. Like he joins the band and immediately he becomes like the person who has the to-go-to person, whose opinion counts. Yeah. Not just like a hired hand for drums, but actually like a full member. And
so the album is entitled Jylhä. What does it mean?
We failed there. we should have thought about that earlier when naming that, because then we realized that we need the translations for the album lyrics and whatnot, and then we realized that then too late that there's no proper word for that in English, and then we knew that this was going to be asked in every interview. There's no proper translation, but we decided that majestic is probably the closest. But it's the word to describe a certain type of scenery, landscape. So, but it also works for the certain type of music.
And then speaking of your language, I mean, your last 4 albums, I think, has been sung in your native language, mostly. Why do you choose to sing in Finnish instead of English?
If we look into the history long way back, the band was originally known as Shaman, and Shaman was singing in Sami language. Yeah. And then the band, for the third Shaman album, Jonne was already changing away from Sami language. The third album became then the first Korpiklaani album, because we had to change the band name at the time. But Jonne already at that point, Jonne wanted to do the songs in Finnish, but he wasn't that happy with his Finnish lyrics. He was very like critical towards his own own lyrics in Finnish. But then when he wrote in English, it sounded immediately better, more rock and roll. And so he settled with English, because in English you can sing basically whichever, and it's perfectly fine for rock and roll.
Yeah.
Even the term rock and roll is just stupid nonsense, basically. So anyway, and then we got a few albums later, a friend of ours started to provide us with like very good Finnish lyrics, and then we sort of drifted away from the English, then started using Finnish more and more, and now for a few albums, as you said, we have been singing entirely in Finnish. But this is this way you get to actually, it's better language to put some like emotion into the singing, and when you're singing in your native tongue. If you're singing in other language, it's as if you are putting on some sort of a cape or something, and you become an actor in some sort of a play. So it is much more natural this way.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Fact is that the song that also a fact is that the song that got us our first recording contract as Korpiklaani, the song was Wooden Pints.
Yeah.
The one song demo, and if that had been in Finnish at that time, none of this probably wouldn't have happened. No. If you like, I don't think that at that time an Austrian label would have been interested in releasing music in Finnish.
I mean, that's very interesting because, I think that when you sing in your native tongue, and I think it gives the whole folk vibe a much, much better impact. I mean, when you listen to Tyr, I want them to sing Faroese, and when I'm listening to a Danish folk band, I want them to sing in Danish. I think it just gives some more to the folk sound.
Yes, and of course it is more your own folk that way, and it is like I like the how the Finnish language sounds. How you can have the some stronger letters than, for example, English doesn't have. So it's much more powerful language in that sense.
It is, and I also think when you hear bands from Scandinavia singing in their own language, it's much more powerful. One of the other things I want to talk about is your album covers. I mean, that's one of the things that I always enjoyed from you guys. That's you have all these very, very colorful and detailed album covers. Do you have the same cover artist on every artwork, or how do you choose what to be on the front cover?
We've had the same artist for many years.
Yeah, I think you can see that. Yeah,
Jan Yrlund. I can't even remember how many he's done. But I think we the idea of the album cover is that we grew up like we are old farts, and we, like most of us are, or some at least, let's put it this way, now that we are getting younger and younger members in the band. But anyway, we grew up in the time when LP ruled the world, and obviously the album cover had more meaning than nowadays, when it's a CD or just a tiny thumbnail
streaming cover.
Yeah, and then the albums had lovely covers at the time, and some bands had the brilliant, like, tiny little details that you could find on the album covers. Think about Iron Maiden covers, where you can find all these hilarious jokes hidden in the pyramids or something. So I think that's why we still think that album covers matter. The artwork matters. And at that time, they were also colorful. There was, I think it's just natural for us to still enjoy that. The same reason why we, like when we did you've now released 5 videos, and all of them have been this old school heavy metal videos with an actual plot. Yeah. And then some band playing somewhere. It's the old school way.
It's the old school way. That's how it should be. A funny thing, you had different singers doing the Beer single.
The original idea why we did that was that we released a beer. So there was the local brewery wanted to make a Korpiklaani beer. So we thought, let's do this. We have a hilarious joke. Let's do this with several singers, the same song. And it got sort of out of hand, the amount of the versions and all that. But it doesn't matter. It was a funny joke.
It was great.
And then it was on the some sort of whatever tour edition of the album, came as a double CD with that as a bonus track. So it's funny. Some of the songs were really, really good, actually. There's some hilarious stuff there. So there's really musically good versions and then some hilarious jokes.
I think the Christopher Bobb's version was amazing.
Yeah, well, he is different kind of bloke. I'm not saying weird. He's different.
He's a character, right?
Yes.
And so I got 2 questions from some of your fans, from some of my listeners, and one of them goes like, "What is your favorite drinking recipe?"
Take a cold beer from the fridge and open it.
And then I have the second one. Why don't you play more often in Denmark?
Well, it's basically not our fault. I mean, it's because of the booking agents or the concert promoters, your local promoters, and that. Like, I mean, we go anywhere. We have quite rarely said no, if ever. So it is the. I mean, there shouldn't be no reason why a European tour, like I don't know why the European tour, Central European tour, why doesn't it include Denmark?
No.
Maybe because it's a bit difficult from, even though when you're playing in Hamburg, it's still a bit pain in the ass to get into Copenhagen, for example.
Yeah, it takes some driving hours.
Yeah, and you got all the. Can you even drive there? Do you have to have a ferry? No, you have bridges there. You can get to Copenhagen ferry. Yeah, you can actually. I think. Yeah, but anyway, it shouldn't be that that impossible, or difficult.
But do you remember your first show in Denmark? I don't think it's that many years ago.
No, it took many years for us to actually come there.
Yeah. I think it was Copenhagen in 2012. That was your first.
The festival was the first one.
Yeah.
That's possible, actually. That's very possible. We've only been there since then we've only been maybe on 2 tours or something like that.
Yeah, you played, I think the Pumpehus was the venue you played, and that was your first club.
Yeah, I think we've been there twice, I think. And then we played in Aarhus. Fairly sure we've been there. Yeah, but not much. You are right. That is not much.
No.
But then again, we haven't been that much in any of the Scandinavian countries for some reason.